All right, class. A little introductory PowerPoint to 1984 by George Orwell. Um, so I'm just going to kind of go through the slides here for the benefit of those who are on virtual or those who are quarantined or those who are absent or everything. But oh, cool. I spelled century wrong. How awesome is that? Century. There we go. George Orwell's book, 1984, probably the most influential book of the 20th century. Does that mean it's the best book written in the 20th century? No. But is it, when we say most influential, it's influence around the world. And it has everything to do with the fact that it just keeps becoming more and more relevant. Books tend to be popular when they're in their day, and then they fizzle out, or they're a fad of the time, and they were really awful, like 80s music. It's terrible, but every once in a while it's good to turn on. And then some music is just iconic and very, very popular, and it's always good, right? Beatles or Elvis, it kind of sticks around. And some things aren't appreciated until they're gone. Orwell's book was immediately popular because of the Cold War and was a bulwark, if you will, a book that was always taught about how this is the way we got to do things, because if we don't pay attention to what Orwell tells us, we're all going to be speaking Russian, that kind of thing. It was this nightmare scenario is what Orwell pictures if the free world collapses, right? Because after World War II, the only societies that were still free, after the Iron Curtain descended and China went communist, basically it was the Western world. It was the United States, and it was England and France and Spain. Not Spain, they were fascists, sorry. It was France, Western Germany, England, the Netherlands, and that. But Russia controlled most of the Eastern European countries and China's influence, and there was a lot of proxy shenanigans going on in Latin America, and it was pretty fearful that we would all turn communist. So the book was very important all the way through the collapse of the Cold War. When the collapse of the Cold War comes in 1990, the book is still popular because people have just been reading it, but it would have fizzled out and gone away. This book should be gone, and no one should care anymore because the Cold War is over. However, Orwell's predicting that governments through technology will be able to watch every move we make in the future. And well, let's just say that hasn't gone away. And that might not be going away for a long time. And so now we're not really afraid of the Russians anymore. We're afraid of governments that can spy on everything that we do and see everything we do. And that has not changed one bit. So that's why the book continues to be important. I'm going to try to advance the slides here without screwing everything up. So Eric Arthur Blair, the author, which is George Orwell, good-looking guy, right? His is painting out there. He's a good-looking guy. He is the figure for the Big Brother painting in the hallway. Some people think it's me, but it's not. But he was born in India during the British Raj. His father was one of the people that worked for the empire. He attended Eton College in London, and he is kind of like the John Steinbeck of England. He wrote about the downtrodden. His last two books were Animal Farm in 1984. He wrote in 48. 1984 was published in 1949, and he promptly died of tuberculosis. Poor guy has no idea what kind of a book he wrote. He wrote a gem, and he doesn't even know it. He's dead before it got to be famous. And one of the last people, Henry David Thoreau, died of tuberculosis. And he's famous again for Animal Farm, Homage to Catalonia, one of the greatest pieces written about the Spanish Civil War. Good book. Down and Out in London and Paris. You can skip that one. In Burmese Days, heck of an ending in that. He's famous for his short stories. Probably one of England's best writers of the 20th century. But again, 1984 is it's the hall. It's sort of his hallmark piece, and here is how he gets famous. Oh, Hillary, God love her. Post 9/11, everybody's concerned with Big Brother watching everything we do, and in post 9/11 world, with the Patriot Act, American government began to spy on its citizens big time. So we had maybe a 10-year window where 1984 wasn't very important, and then now every great leader of the United States or the world gets to have their own sort of Big Brother sort of picture taken. And even though Hillary, she should be honored because she never was president, but yet she still gets to be this. It's another example here. MSNBC here. This is IngSoc. It's English Socialism. That's in the book. I love my favorite one from Barack Obama. Is this one says hope and this one says change. Very good. Whoever came up with that. These are actually scenes from the movie, right? And I'll show a clip of that for sure. Here is the map of IngSoc or 1984. Again, all he did was take and inverted. He wrote it in 48. He predicts out in 1984. Of course, it's published in 49. Screw the whole thing up. So I guess it could be 1994. That would mess everything up. And this is the world. Eurasia, right? That's the Soviet Union. East Asia, which is China and its dominance, and then Oceania, which is the United States, and of course their little colony over here, Airstrip 1, which is England. So the whole place takes place in London. And then the United States controls all of this. But in the book, the fear is that the United States also has turned communist. And therefore the whole world is communist. And the fear that would generate, because as you're going to see in the book, it's a hell scenario. Because we know, right, because the United States beat the Russians in the Cold War. So Russia is, Russia. Nobody wants to live there. And Eastern Europeans have joined the West. Okay, the second biggest economy in the world are the communist Chinese, and they're no longer communists. They're an oligarchy, and they're embracing capitalism left and right. So basically, we win, and this is a non-existent world. Okay, so historically, it's interesting. But again, it's about government control, manipulation, propaganda. That's why we're reading it now. A couple more here. There's President Bush. He made the cut. And this is actually from the movie. And you'll see that. Again, the opening scene of the movie is pretty good. It stars John Hurt, which is Ollivander the Wand Maker from the Harry Potter series. Right? And then in the 1984, the societal pyramid, the proles make up 85% of the population. Then you have the outer party members. This is where Winston works. So he's not these low lifes, but he's not in the know all the way, right? Okay. Kind of like think of students here, teachers here, administration there. And at the top, Big Brother is the superintendent. Okay. So he's just an outer party member. And it's just this 2% of the population. They control everything, right? And we could have a little fun with this about, you're going to read about later on, and we'll deal with it later on in the book about the different levels of who tries to take each other out and all that. That's later in the book. And then, pretty amazingly, the man hasn't even taken office yet. So in future days, if still using this little video, I just want it to be known that it is December when I'm filming this. Joe Biden has yet to take office, and yet he has already made the 1984 piece of ignorance is strength, right, Joe? Because ignorance is strength is the motto of 1984. War is peace. I almost said imitation is suicide. That would be Emerson. Ignorance is strength. Okay, and there's another one. Now I have imitation is suicide in my head. And then this is the flag of English socialism. And of course, again, socialism is not exactly the socialism of today. We're talking about more of communism and dictatorship. A couple things that are mentioned. This is Victory Square. It's like, oh, nice. It's going to let me blow that up. God bless computers and the internet. This is Victoria Square, or Victory Square. It's actually Trafalgar Square in the real world. It's in downtown London. So anytime he mentions the statue of Big Brother, that's this right here. It's actually Horatio Nelson. And this is St. Martin's in the Field right here. Okay. We'll talk about that stuff later on. All right. But that is, I think I messed everything up there. So when they talk about Victory Square, again, Trafalgar Square, downtown London. It's a great place. The old climb on the lions. There's the clock tower. Big Ben is the bell back there, and that's Parliament. And if you're staring down the street, that's what you see. And if you turn 180 degrees, you're right there. Okay. Just a little historical thing. Something that's gone from history is the Berlin Wall. If you ever look at a map of Germany, the United States, France, and England and Russia all conquered Germany, and they divided it up into quarters. Well, quickly the French and the English gave their 2 quarters over the United States. The United States controlled basically, 3/4 of it. West Germany was just like that. So there was East Germany, West Germany was there. East Germany was like a little ball. Berlin is in the middle of that. So even though Berlin was in the middle of Russian-controlled East Germany, they decided to make it a free, half of it controlled by the United States, the other half controlled by the Russians. Well, the Russians then put a wall around it and tried to choke it out. So that's what the Berlin Wall is all about. And then this is the DMZ in North Korea. And then we'll deal with the military-industrial complex later on, but this was just if we write an essay on the military-industrial complex, we'll deal with this when the time comes. But you'll see just very quickly that the United States spends this much on our military, followed by China. And then there's France, Russia, right, all that. Okay, and then there's the rest of the world. Okay, that's why where we go, that's what happens. We have the biggest military in the world. All right, and with that, you're ready to read.